Hello, it's George Lees on the first Sunday that Theresa May has been in power. Yeah, and I'm going to give them a massive conscience. Yeah, she is married to someone who's a financial magnate in Capital Group, and that is the Lovelace banks and all the Linda Lovelace covers. But World War II is much more serious than that, and that sadly is the religious jokes by the American President Franklin D. Roosevelt that took us into war. And I've got all of it sussed out now. The Capital Group is linked to Rio Tinto, yeah, and that is officially declared on the American business site directory. That is the little site, CIS website, okay? All of it is a massive for-profit crime scene, and that is global government. Okay, this music is the sad declaration, because there is a financial company called McGraw Hill. The singer of this song about being in World War II and flying there because of what happened at Pearl Harbour was sung by Faith Hill, and her husband is Tim McGraw. Do you get it? They've been divorced because they laugh at the war dead, and you'll be there. Let's listen to it and I'll show you the pictures. It's absolutely tragic, and that is Franklin D. Roosevelt. His family were the Delanois, that's Delaney's donkey on the Mayflower that sailed from Leiden, the Christian lying den for profit. All their ancestors in the borders, yeah, and everyone still tries to cover up the truth. Right there. And Linda Lovelace is a porn star, and these are the Habsburgs up here, yeah, with the Habsburg lip that I'll tell you about. That's the transition of the power base from the Transalpine region, where the Burgomasters, who play rugby for Italy still, were the Thurn and Taxi Company, and they took the massive financial empires that were the Bavarian master races and the Rothschilds and the Habsburgs, and they positioned them right in the middle of Holland. Yeah, that is the Dutch fraud, and that is the launch of the Dutch Protestant Christians. And it does not matter what religion you're in, it's entirely for profit and to kill the ordinary people and all of your worshippers if you get the opportunity. So this is the song that got Faith Hill and Tim McGraw divorced, because they are cover for the warmongering that FDR engaged in, and Teddy is just as bad. All of the presidents yet on Mount Rushmore are in the bloodline that links you to George W. Bush and the Windsor family, who are still in control of the genocidal regime that run World War and World War I and World War II. Lovely music though. Yeah, and it's all about that. False since the very, very beginning. There is a God, and they are beginning to know it now.
When I think back on these times and the dreams we left behind, I'll be glad, 'cause I was the last to get to have you in my life. When I look back on these days, I look and see your face. You were right there for me.
do you get it already? I was going to play you a little bit of FDR's speech. Let's do that just to get the magnitude of it. So there's the region in America that sparked both world wars. Yeah, because all of them are ever so clever. All of them go to Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, Göttingen, Heidelberg, and all of them are in the profiteering same side. Yeah, that is the swastika icon that was the icon for the Bank of Pakistan after they partitioned it in 1992, the Rothschilds. Yeah, it's got the same symbol for the spoke and wheel model for the Rotary Club, that is the mafia globally, that is the capitalist icon, yeah, for Hitler Rothschild before he demonized it in 1939. Yeah, I'll show you all of that in the pictures later on. And this is the sexual coercion in that region from that place called Princeton, where Woodrow Wilson promised never to take his country to war like he did before he was elected. Yeah, and that is FDR, who was his family on the Pilgrim Fathers. Yeah, and it is absolutely sickening. And Putnam is the secret society that makes the Chariots of Fire movie, that becomes the Chancellor and my boss at Sunderland University, and all of the jokes about people not being able to die for their country on a Sunday because it's immoral and it's against God's rules. Everything that Christ represents is a demonic, abysmal rejection of the God's moral rules, and now they've been totally taken over by this false religious icon that is Jesus Christ. Okay, and there's the transition from the Rothschilds to the Roosevelt dynasty, yeah, on a different continent, all of them in charge of the churches, yeah, and all of the little brothers are the heads of the cathedrals all over Europe already, and this is them into Springwood Estate, yeah, and that's the story that I told you about on Springwood Estate in my hometown. There is the picture of Springwood Estate on that side of the bridge. On this side of the bridge you have Maxwell Hugh and all of the little camps for the war captured fighters from Italy. And remember in World War II that they started off fighting yeah, for the not the Allied countries but the Axis countries, and right in the middle of the war, thanks to Mrs. Simpson's input in part, they changed sides and they became friends of all of him and the big three leaders that were the three ships, yeah, the three kings that are FDR, Churchill and Stalin, all trained in the institutions. And the sad bit is that everything that I love when I'm a boy, yeah, that's the Jekyll and Hyde movies, yeah, so that the Oyster Bay is the home for Teddy Roosevelt, and the Hyde Park dynasty is in the region where Springwood is the home for FDR. Yeah, there's Putnam Valley right in the middle. Yeah, do you get it? That's the Chariots of Fire. You must not run for your country on a Sunday. Yeah, because we're going to engage in a genocide and we want you to be fooled by all of it. So the name of the people in Tom Hanks' Rockefeller's Saving Private Ryan, oh there it is. So there's the troop carriers. Yeah, guess what their names are in this joke? Yeah, the fucking HARLEM in this region Globetrotters, the American troops all over the world. That's why she sings, "You'll be there and you will not return." Yeah, you will be interned in a New World Order cemetery somewhere on the continent that we owned already before we took over America from its Indians. That's the "I'm your native son" joke for all of the folk singers. Yeah, and the joke about this is that Honolulu, which is Pearl Harbor, is the birthplace of President Obama. Yeah, he's got Hussein as his middle name and he's not an American citizen, and all of it is a massive joke. Yeah, and the oyster catchers that I now know feed out Springwood Park preferentially when they're looking for the worms. Yet there are no oysters left. All of them are in the vaults and the pockets of these elite families that run the world. Yeah, and that's Woodrow Wilson that had sex with a woman in Princeton University and was able then to be coerced into appointing the first two Jewish members of the Supreme Court that were Untermeyer and Brandeiss, and then the rest of world history is about demonizing other people in other religions, and that is the demonization of German goods, yeah, and the killing of all of the Jews in Germany by the Christians who love their neighbour ever since that ship sailed within 3 years of the beginning of the 30 years Holy Years War, the 30 years Christian versus Christian war. Yeah, and it is absolutely sickening. Do you get the Pearl Harbour links to Oyster Bay now? It's a joke, isn't it? Isn't it really funny that you can run the world by genocide and we're still doing it? So let me explain the other images that I've just shown you. Okay, all of it is the Piso Bible joke. Okay, so there is the picture of our new Prime Minister. That is her husband, Mr. May, Philip John May, I think. Yeah, he is a Capital Group company expert, and Capital Group own, on the quiet, Rio Tinto, yeah, which has been owned since 1888 on the quiet by the Rothschild family, yeah, that appoint all of the people that go behind that door. Yeah, and on my Facebook page this morning, the false news crimes of the Paris slaughter have been exposed as just another of the Freemasonic numbering codes. I forget the name of the guy that published it, but it's on the front page of my Facebook page, and several times they took it down because I was revealing the links to Berlin and the Rothschilds of Frankfurt and their links to my Facebook friend who is Rebecca Strongmeyer. That is the Myers and the Mike Myers in The Spy Who Shagged Me, and the founders of Capital Group were the Lovelace family, and that launches the porn stars into Hollywood. Isn't it a lovely way to run the world? Yeah, there is the Bank of England icon. Yeah, she used to work there. Not many people know that, even when she's been appointed as the Prime Minister, because none of the press are able to express themselves freely, because all of them are paid by Murdoch, and all of the people who attended Rupert Murdoch's third wedding are in the global mafia still, and they have been reappointed to her cabinet. Yet totally unelected, totally lawless, totally prepared to kill anything that moves. And there in that picture are the prisoner of war camps for the Italians. And I now understand why there are so many Italians married into the fair women of this town. And there's the fair woman of Pakistan who was the president when Imran Khan came on the scene, married to a goldsmith, yeah, and she introduced her to him. And the goldsmiths, yeah, the wedding to Imran Khan eventually broke up, but she died in 2008, just 16 years after the Rothschilds took over the bank. Yeah, and I'll let me show you the icons. The Habsburgs were the money lenders in the Alps, yeah, before the Rothschilds began to dominate everything that moves in the financial services world. And these lot, like the Rothschilds, are so inbred that the bloodline is now, yeah, are pushed around in wheelchairs, or has got, yeah, massive difficulties raising its babies, yeah, or even getting them out of the birthing chamber because they're born dead. This one was born blind. She's the Dutch fascist that is the Prince Bernhard of Holland, and that is the Habsburg Lip Biesterfields. Yeah, isn't it funny? Yeah, and that's the blue dragon that in my first ever novel I am destined to slay. I've escaped from it so far, yeah, and that is me leaving New Zealand just before the massive earthquake occurred there. All of them share the Christian joke, and the Dutch are particularly vicious, and that's them in Rothschild yellow, all over the crime scene, born blind. Yeah, look up Princess Christina of the Netherlands and you'll see her making her wedding vow, yeah, presumably the Bible is written in Braille. And all of it is a massive lie. Okay, there's the Habsburg lip, and it's the explanation that the Habsburgs of Spain, that were the sponsors of the ships that took Magellan to the South Pacific with Christianity and El Nino, yeah, become the moneylenders in the Bavarian master race region over the course of time. And all of a sudden they flit into Holland, yeah, and they become the Roosevelts, yeah, not the Rothschilds this time. They become the Roosevelts, and that is a type of armour, yeah. And there's the American pie joke that is so vicious. Everything is the American piezo, which means vagina. There's the pie as Britney comes out of the sorority university atmosphere that creates all of the wars. We mentioned Princeton only, but all of the universities that are immune from bombing are the masterminds. That's the Grimm brothers in Göttingen, yeah, and it's all the Oxford, Cambridge people, and we are sharing the prime ministerial labels in World War I, yeah, because we send a man across there to win the Iron Cross, and he has the same name as the Prime Minister. And I cannot find footage of anybody declaring war in World War I, because it's all the same fucking families. And they had to change their name from Saxe-Coburg to Windsor at the end of that great conflict for reputational reasons. And that is the Windsor joke in the Stammering Speech film. Yet comedy about 45 million dying. Okay, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, his grandfather's home there, the Isaac Roosevelt House, is listed on the US National Register of Historic Places, as are the homes of Franklin D. Roosevelt himself, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Frederick William Vanderbilt, along with FDR's high school at Hyde Park, is the location of the Culinary Institute of America, a residential college devoted to culinary and pastry arts. That is, baking pies and then sniffing them, because you know that the pies is the piezo Bible fraud, yeah, and it is the translation from Italian to vagina that is the biggest joke in world history, that is the American pie joke, yeah. And when you look up American pie now, that's the only image that you find in all of the Google images, yeah. There is no reference to any of his movies or any of those sad jokes, and you can see that the azure blue for Rothschild is still part of the sorority joke and the running of all of those universities and of false religions. And it's in a movie or a video called Britney Spears, If You Seek Amy, and that is the narrator who says, it's so complicated that you'll never understand it, isn't it? It's simple, and it's just the gusset of her pants. Yeah. And that's why Jack the Ripper cuts that part out in the murders for the grappas of the Poppos of Grapfield. That is the Windsor bloodline today, and that was the killing by Prince Eddie, yeah, of the Jack the Ripper victims, and the cutting out in the Bible joke of their vital parts. Yeah, the ritual cutting out of their vital parts. Next image is the war crimes joke for Tom Hanks, that is the Harlem Globetrotters out of this region. Yeah, I forget where Harlem is. It's right in the middle of the New York hub for the mafias, and that is the 5 mafia families, and the current Archbishop for Glasgow is in one of those mafia families. I forget what his name is, but we've made movies and videos on that. His name is the big cardinal for the whole of Scotland is Leo Cushley, which is a joke about the Nile, yeah, but his sidekick is one of those 5 mafia families that were working for Al Capone out of the windy city of Chicago. I forget what the name is. Okay, so do you get it? The family that are Roosevelt and start World War II. I will not play his speech now because it's too far into the movie, they might copyright me, but you should listen to it. when he declares war on Japan and the rest of the world in those Italian friends of the Axis countries, yeah, he is actually responding to the prompts of the senator for Nevada that is still in the Godfather movie. Yeah, and that is the launch of all of the mafia jokes about the Italian mafias coming from Sicily, yeah, and changing their name to Ciccio, which is Madonna's name. Okay, so there's the Oyster Bay hub for him, yeah, it's the Pearl Harbour joke for him, and the Hyde Park, sorry, the wrong way round, the Hyde Park joke for his brother, who is the greatest ever American president according to the museum movie. Yeah, and Princeton launches World War I, and on it goes. Okay, and there's the links to the Guinness families and the Stoutenburgs after the town's first settler, Jacobus Stoutenburg. Yeah, and that is the stouts that become the Guinnesses, and the fascism, the Mitford sisters partners, and on it goes. And that is the Faith Hill joke, sadly. That is sung by George M. Cohan, and it's the Over There joke that is the song for Thames Polly when I played rugby for them, Max. Yeah, and that is where Kate Middleton's mum went to university with me. Yeah, the oldest jokes in the world, and it is really, really vicious. Let's keep going. Okay, so there's Britney, and you get the Harlem Globetrotters now. That's the US troops. Yeah, and the favourite in the Harlem Globetrotters was a man called something Melon. Yeah, and that's the Melon Bank that he has in his hand, which is the warmongering gold scams, yeah, for the Lend-Lease deal for FDR in the massive place that is Fort Knox, and is the Goldfinger joke for James Bond and the double agents. Yeah, luckily the Flemings did not pretend to be religious, but they are the Walloons of religion and the Flemish coast in Holland. All wars are sides. And there just happens to be a Hartford and a Middleton there. Right then, okay, so there's his big house, Springwood, and that is the Springwood house that had to be bombed by Bomber Harris and his friends in 1950, when the news was getting out and people were able to read it and write in English, and the Italian war prisoners were married to the Kelsonian people. Right then, where do we go from here? Okay, we keep going to that. Okay, so do you get it? There is the Springwood estate on both sides of the Atlantic. There's the massive mansion on Springwood that had to be blown up. There is the massive Arc de Triomphe that is in the Paris, yeah, prison too, and that used to be parked on the end of the Kelso Bridge, and every citizen had to pay a toll to cross that bridge, because every one of the politicians that run the war are in charge of the profiteering from their people. And that is the poor house joke. Yeah, that is the Springwood estate that was blown up in the 1950s, yeah, run by Dougie Elliott, and all you get on the internet now about the Elliots and the interlocks to all of the Turnbulls and the families out of Minto and Minto Castle and the Fatlips Castle, yeah, it's all covered up by pop stars that have just been launched in the last couple of years. Okay, and there's all the stories I told you about the false news and the bringing down of the Twin Towers so we could go to war in Islam, yeah, and that is Tony Farrell the policeman, the 7-7 inside job. There are the two Farrells that are the rugby players for England, and there is Tony Blair the war criminal. Yeah, no mention yet in the Chilcot report on his war crimes that Chilcot himself was profiteering in those crimes with Malcolm Rifkind and the G4S and the Scottish Freedom mobsters, yeah, still in charge, Alex Salmond Rothschild and Schnapper Sturgeon. Roosevelt put in spot on Pearl Harbor case. Okay, this is the Tony Blair earthquakes and the Hansen covers for the financial services crimes that are committed in a company called Heidelberg Cement, and Heidelberg is immune from bombing in World War II. It's the same team, and that's the Windsor joke, just to let them know it's us. Yet there is Teddy Bear Rothschild, yet the bears in the woods joke, who was shooting bears in the woods the day his opposition was killed. McKinley was murdered. Yeah, and there is the blind princess, and there is Farrell that is covered with Madonna for being the mother of God, and she's now become penitent again and is singing songs about ending the devil's crimes, but she may well have been taken down. I've no way of knowing. Okay, there's another set of pictures. So I've explained in the last 8 days how Pope Benedict was Hitler Youth. He was born in Innsbruck, yeah, and that is the appointment of Neil Bush at the Vatican to manipulate all of the Jewish, Turkish, Islamic and Christian texts, because now that the news has been released by a man called George Lees in Kelso, they have nowhere to go, and that's why all of that movement and the Pope were forced to resign, yeah, when I first reported it, yeah, and his butler got the blame for that, and there they are at the 16th EPP group, yeah, get 10 grand each of the delegates to attend every time, yeah, and there they are converting George W. To Judaism in the White House, yeah, that's the Lubavitcher movement, and she, Shakira, is a Mubarak, and the voice of the Copts is my correspondence with the Egyptian religions, yeah, that were wiped out, like the President Morsi, who is the replacement, and he was played by Jim Royle, the actor, in the Caroline Aherne comedies, and you should see the video that Caroline Aherne makes on nuns, and the human penis, and the joke about the fish being the penis in the Bible. Yeah, and all of it is for cash, and all of them are war criminals, but because of what we've learned about the judiciary, and all of them being in Hitler's banks, yeah, and all of them switching sides during the wars, there is no way that the world can change, yeah, until you start giving them a conscience, and the world starts talking about it. Yeah, so there today we are declaring that our freedom fighters in Kelso are celebrating the capacity to be killed by the world owners. That is the Kelso Bridge that had that Springwood gate, yeah, the Arc de Triomphe for all of the war dead, and they get dressed up in jodhpurs and blue uniforms, yeah, as a joke about them being now freed. They're total slaves, yet none of them will get up and fight. But thank you to the people that talk to me in the pubs now and are seeing that the goodness way will change it all forever, and that's not the Theresa May route, believe me. Okay, so this is our Civic Week starts tonight. Yeah, do you get it? And that's my student from Otago, who is now the dancer for Madonna, who's the mother of God in the jokes. Yeah, and his name is Farrell, like the whistleblower, and all of it, the press are guilty of massive crimes against the people. Yeah, and sorry, let's keep going. There's the Pope again, and there is Caroline Aherne. Yeah, you should watch that video. It's absolutely obscene, and no wonder she died. Yeah, there's the Springwood Estate jokes again. There are Faith Hill and Tim McGraw, yeah, that sing about you'll be there and you'll be dead when you come back, if you're lucky enough to come back. Yeah, and that is the war graves and the Margraves jokes for the elite families all over Europe, and particularly in Verdun. Yeah, that's the lilies of the field and the poppies jokes. There is President Morsi, there is Jim Royle. It's the same bloke, and that is what killed Robin Williams, because he did that as the serial killer in the NHS. Yeah, and everything that he makes the movies about, he dies of. Yeah, and he is in the secret societies that are the Underhill Society, and they are based in Pearl Harbor in New York. Yeah, that is the Oyster Bay. Yeah, Mercy, royal family, and the teddy bears for Roosevelt. Can you see the New World Order's musical output? That's Teddy Bear Rothschild. Yeah, that's the name for the Rothschilds before they became the Rothschilds. Yeah, and it can also be Badger, and that is the links to the Thurn and taxis firm that took the massive money lending organisations into Holland out of the Bergamasco region in Italy. That's the Bergamascos, two of them, I think they were twins, that played for Italy in the rugby team, yeah, which is useless and always ends up at the bottom of the table. But as long as you get a laugh up your sleeve about world ownership, it does not really matter. Yeah, does it, Dougie Elliott and the Caravan Club? Yeah, and all of, so when they launched the Bank of Pakistan, you'll see that later, the Pakistan icon is the swastika. Yeah, it's not actually a swastika. This time it's a four-limbed wagon wheel. Yeah, like the three-limbed Isle of Man jokes and the three-legged, yeah, three-legged Rolf Harris. Same joke, same Freemasons, same global movement. And there is McGraw Hill Financial for the divorce that I created in that family for 45 million war dead in World War II, in not his war. He was around earlier than FDR, and goodness knows what we were up to then when the Pisa horse were the cavalries. Yeah, and that's why they're in the museum film. Do you get that? The royal family is the comedy that she's in. She plays Mrs. Merton, and that is the Mertons, that is the richest college in Oxford and is the place of residence of the Duchess of Merton, and that is the Duchess of Sutherland, who sent all of the colonists, like Rupert Murdoch, yeah, to the colonies for stealing fucking bread here. Yeah, and that is not the Red Fez, but it is the same joke, and he is the disappeared man that Baroness Amos of St Albans School could not find. Yeah, and for a laugh, the icon for Michael Ancram, yeah, in the secret societies that are in charge of making sure that the Irish Troubles never end, yeah, that is the Official Secrets Act teams, yeah. The joke for Michael Ancram is that he has the sun god on his family mascot. This lot live and love, ever looking upwards, knowing that they have totally replaced the god in the heavens. But then when he dies of all of those pathologies that he makes the jokes about, then they have another think coming. Yeah, that's Jim Royal of the Royal Family Frauds, and the name of the Royal Family Fraudster that I could not remember in the Carry On comedies about Empire and Pakistan is Barbara fucking Windsor, just to let them know it's us. Okay, there she is, the Windsor woman, with her half-brother Bill Clinton, and all of the icons of Empire that he's using there, and his cigar tube was used to sire, yeah, him. Yeah, the semen sample was in the tube, and all of the Freemasonic presidents in America, all of them have been Freemasons. All of those ones are related to the Piso family that wrote the Bible, as is she, and is George Bush, and is FDR, and is Teddy in the Woods Roosevelt. Yeah, and all of the truth has come out from there. Yeah, that's the Little Sis declarations that the company that Theresa May's husband runs is the owners of the Rio Tinto abomination. Okay, and there is Lord Mountbatten's child, Peter Sellers. Yeah, and he is all through all of the comedies and the films about Queen Victoria's only legitimate child on the Isle of Man, yeah, like the jail on the Isle of Man, and all the drug runners that work for him and Onassis, yeah, and the sires of the Queen's children, yeah, all of them put the prisoners that are guilty of those laundering crimes in the jail on the Isle of Man, and they let them free, even though they've committed murders in our countries. Okay, and He's dead now, yeah, and his joke is over. God is really, really powerful, and that is the captain, Schweinsteiger, of the German football team. That is the Schweins that are the Rothschilds in Frankfurt, before the family tree declares that all of those people, yeah, like the man who shagged me, the mayors, and all of the links to the singers that are the Bacharachs, yeah, the Rotten Roses, and all of it takes you back. So he's Schweinsteiger, and that is Rod Steiger playing Napoleon in the Rothschilds' greatest ever triumph. All of them are related to the Piso family that wrote the Bible and faked it up, and he knows that, and that's why his second wife was a Filipino, and that is the Filipino currency that's still used like the Spanish currency, which is why Butch Cassidy and Sundance go to Mexico, because it's still used there too. It's the peso, do you get it? Taking the piss for Sally Magnuson and songs of praise. Yeah, and the only people who will tell the truth now get topped. That is the T-Mobile place. T-Mobile is the Christian Cross Mobile, yeah, and that is in Washington in America. Yeah. That is in Washington in America, north by northwest, and T-Mobile Company have replaced Abelard Reichlen, that published all of the truths about the false Bible, and Arius Calpurnius Piso, who wrote it, nickname Josephus. Yeah, it is absolutely ruthless. Sorry, we've done that one. I think we must be getting, so there it is, that's the joke. Napoleon and all of the shagging of his women by the people with the eye patches, yeah, when he's still alive, and all of that is engineered by the Rothschilds of Austria, yeah, and all the Edmund de Rothschild's global warming scams are there. There's the Russian billionaires who they bring into Britain, and there is the Lovelace-like Michelle Pfeiffer, yeah, because I forget what the links were to the family. Oh yeah, it's Billy Pizer that launches the global warming from Stanford, or the Sanford School of Public Economy, yeah, and all of the rewards are in Austrian Master Race Gulden, yeah, and there's his resignation speech and all of the things. He is Camerinus in the Roman court, yeah, and there's the von Neipperg, all of the jokes about the Pi Piso family right through world history, yeah, and that's Michelle Pfeiffer's prepared to get her tits out and her fanny and all of it out. Her fanny is the master plan for the family, but it is backfired in a major way. Yeah, that's the one who profited out of the Russian deals, the Austrian deals, and that is the Frankfurt am Main joke that is in Rule Britannia. I think we can more or less stop this series of pictures, because there's not much more to tell other than this is my family. That's my ex-wife, Mrs. Valerie Jane Lees, née Hancocks. That is Lan Hancocks. That is Rio Tinto Rothschild, and her cousin Simon lives in Perth, which is the hub for them on the other side of that massive Rothschild yellow country, and she is the Orcafa owner and on the Forbes rich list of what is actually a Rothschild's holding, but they're unprepared to declare that since 1880, when they were in charge of the massive mining interests that at that time were run by Spain, with close parallels to the Habsburgs and the people that inbreed with their own families that are now extinct, yeah, and the Barings banks and all of the covers, yeah, that is the lovely Rebecca Strongmeyer that is in Berlin, yeah, and that is the Myers that tried to tell us that the Rothschilds were no longer active in Frankfurt, even though the European Central Bank has moved there. Yeah, it's massive, and the people have to go there, yeah, from Belgium 2 days a week so that they can get their expenses up. Yeah, and all of it. There's my mate, the Irishman that runs the chat shows, and he's in the homeless place in Kelso now. There is Mike Meyer, singing with Madonna, who's the Ciccio that is the Godfather relative, Yeah, and there's Shearson, Lemon and Hutton, and the local councillor who tried to have me banned up as a mental case is the Huttons that launched the Let's Go Fly a Kite cheque scandals in the American financial frauds. It's a lovely story, and he lives right next door to Dr. Fingland, who with her were prepared to sign the sectioning documents. Yeah, and that is her in the Alpine region. Yeah, there is the Bowie tribes region and the Al Pacino region and the Lord McAlpine jokes for the Celtic tribes that are actually the mafia leaders. Yeah, and all of the false news you now get about David Bowie, yeah, and false religion, it's a total twist up. And she's confirmed for me that David Bowie lived in Berlin where she lives, and the pub that he used to drink in, which is called the Jungle, which is the Robin Williams joke in Jumanji, yeah, that is now closed. Yeah, and that is about that David Bowie song is Where Are We Now, and it's about walking the war dead on your lead. Yeah, over the brooks, and the brooks are the Innsbruck joke, and no room at the inn for Jesus and Pope Benedict. Yeah, Lehman Brothers, Hutton, Strohmeyer, Rothschild, Paris, Mitterrand, Pompidou Bank resets, 2008, Hawkins, Hancock's Rio Tinto. Yeah, that's Hawkins of Abel Danger, and that is the Hawkeye joke in the culling of the American Indians, and it is the Hawkeye joke in the culling of America's troops in Vietnam. Phil McConnell, you sad bastard. Yeah, and they're all interlocked on Rothschild's boardrooms. Yeah, do you get that? Mitterrand and Pompidou worked for Rothschild banks like Theresa May did. I think that's the same story again, and Bill Gates is the richest man now, and that's the Fat Boy Slim joke about some of his rivals. Yet none of the Rothschilds make it there because they're ever so cleverer than all of the rest. Alphonse Capone, tax criminal, Chicago, and Mrs. Lee's, née Hancock's, is the tall mobster on the top of my Facebook page. Yeah? I don't know if she knows all of this history, but her brother Simon is a smart guy. I've met him. Yeah, and they share all the genealogical secrets of the family, and I've got them all. Yeah, and the links to Nick Clegg and the world-owning mafia team. Right then, and Nick Clegg is now the surviving relative of Lord Lucan, and he's cashed in on his legacy. Yeah, and all of it is in the papers that are run by the Rothschilds. Yeah, right then. So that's only one, and there's the Mecca joke. That's the Meccano joke that becomes the terror from Mecca, where the publishers of the Quran were the Kresh family, and that is the Cray twins in fucking London. Yeah, and Mecca is just a joke about a region in the Alps, like Brexit. Yeah, and there's the region in the Alps that they laugh at. That is the last valley for Christianity, played by Michael Caine as the Holy fucking Roman Emperor. And that's my mate David Jones in Dunedin's bridge playing partner, that is Omar Sharif, and he plays the good guy in there, and he slits the throats of the people that are going to be burnt to death as witches, yeah, or are reluctant to take on the Christianity fraud. Yeah, and that is a nice gesture from him. Yeah, and he plays the murderous owner of the well in the Lawrence of Arabia movie, and there is the icon for the Bank of Pakistan. I better get you onto those other pictures, and thank you to the woman who's called his name is, he's in the North by Northwest movie, the joke about the Hitchcocks being up there and the Christianity fraud being exposed there. And his name is Cary Grant. So I've got a female friend called Cary on the internet, and she does not know that he plays a cross-dressing role in that movie. Everybody now knows that the Freemason symbol, right up to 1939, for Hitler, for all of the Masons in England, was the swastika. That's why all of those Nazi riots are held in the massive places where the dog shows are now hosted in London. Earl's Court. Yeah, same icon for Hitler. Okay, and there's the Muhammad Ali links to Liverpool, because he's the money lender, or sorry, Lord Macartney in Liverpool is the money lender that funded Muhammad Ali in India, and all of the killing of all of those people in the empire upon which the sun is going to set really soon. Yeah. And there's Marlene Dietrich that escapes from Europe in 1939 and goes and runs the war, yeah, as a Hollywood propagandist in America. Yeah, and there's the little red jokes about all of the terror involving the Rothschilds, yeah, involving the royals, yeah, and the royal dolls having the little red dress on and being found and put in the museums for Larry Summers and the massive fraudsters, yeah, that Carrie's talking about this morning on, yeah, none of them talk about the things that mean that the prime ministers and presidents work for the banks. Yeah, none of that is a conflict of interest now, but I'm going to make it one. Yeah. And there's the Tring, because the place where the last valley is Trins in Austria, and that is the Tring joke about the wild ass that is Jesus in the Piso Bible. And Maynard is a series of jokes about the Bible and the hand grenade of Antioch, and all of that takes you into Leviticus and what we're allowed to eat and not to eat, yeah, and whether or not we're allowed to be homosexuals. And in Leviticus, in the Piso Bible, it says that that is evil and it's a crime. Yeah, David Cameron's biggest contribution to our world has been the launch of civil marriage. Yeah, isn't it great? And he crashed the banks, or he did nothing about the crashing of the banks by socialist Tony Blair and his mates in 2008, when the president in Pakistan was killed. Yeah, when Imran Khan from Pakistan, who's going to run for president really soon, is married to a goldsmith who is the half sister of Princess Di. And the Queen kills the man who releases that story, who is my mate Greg Hallett. Okay, I think that we cannot go further down than that, but I've got another lot. Yeah, I'm going to show you them all because it's easier to tell it in pictures. Okay, so there is what I've just told you. There is the picture released by the now dead Greg Hallett, or who's reluctant to talk about anything but David Bowie being a Christian fraudster. Yeah, it's a massive, yeah, that's the Bowie tribes and the people that become the bears in the Alps, yeah, the people that become the bears all across the world, yeah, and that is the badger joke too, because the bears are ever so rare now and it's more difficult to find them, yeah, and laugh at them in the circus that the world has become. Okay, there's the Capital Group icon for Theresa May's husband, yeah, his name is Philip John May, yeah, and he is the boss at Capital Group companies. I've only found one of the 750 that we have in Britain already. No conflicts of interest. Yeah, a lot of them are registered in the Hertfordshire Petty France regions, and there is the joke about the Rothschilds taking over in 1992 the Federal Bank of Pakistan. Yeah, there is their mutual friend who introduced those pair to each other, and that is Benazir Bhutto, who was murdered as the president of Pakistan, and 4 Bhuttos in the political sector in Pakistan, which is not very old at all, because it was only partitioned. She was the 13th president of Pakistan. That's unlucky if you're a Freemason. Yeah, and there is the Carry On Up the Khyber movie that exemplifies the whole of how the world is run. And the Capital Group was launched by a man called Lovelace, and that is the launch of the porn star Linda Lovelace into Hollywood. And everywhere that these crimes take place, you get the Balochistan earthquake, yeah, and Los Angeles is the hub for the Capital Group companies now. And there's some of the directors: Kevin J. Clifford, Robert W. Lovelace, do you get it? yeah, his ancestor, about 300 years before, in London, launched the Lovelace Company as the Capital Group companies. Timothy Darmour, Martin Romeo, Darcy Copcho, that's the Mr. Darcy jokes, and all of the stammering king jokes about Mr. Darcy's actor playing the stammering king in the Oscar-winning movie. Rothenberg's Philip de Toledo, and then right at the bottom, they've half cut it off. Yeah, you've got Rio Tinto PLC, run on the Little Sis website totally by Capital Group. Yeah, who is now the owner of the lodging house at 10 Downing Street. Yeah, and can you see the National Bank of Pakistan is the 4 legs for the swastika, it's the 3 legs for the it's the 4 legs for the Rotary Club, or the wagon wheel icon that they have, and on it goes. And they've owned Rio Tinto since the 1880s when we were in Khartoum, but you would not want to declare that for tax reasons and death duties. Yeah, and there's Princess Diana's mum, who was shagged by James Goldsmith so that Princess Diana could walk onto this earth eventually. She does not ride the horses, she's more innocent than most. Okay, do you get it? So that is the assassination of the Pakistani president. Then Imran Khan, who I lobby, comes on the scene, and he marries the Goldsmiths. And the Goldsmiths, that means that Diana is the bastard half-sister of Jemima. And I don't think he ever made it to president. It would have been really dangerous. But the Mays love cricket, and Sussex County Cricket Club is where Brighton directors and secretaries are, and that is the laundering tools that my wife, Mrs. Valerie Jane Lees, who was the scorer for that cricket club when he was playing for them, yeah, that is the massive money laundering things. And she then trained at the massive Rothschilds owned institutions that are now charities, that are the Bonner Law College, that is Ashridge College in Hertfordshire. She trained under the Duke of Bedfordshire in Woburn, and all of it is a massive tragedy for the English nation. Yeah, and Scotland gets a rougher deal because all we get is the Rothschilds family outlets that are the Salmonds and the Sturgeons. And when you look at the icon for the Federal Bank, your perfect banking partner for the Rothschilds ownership, yeah, it's a herd of goats and a rustic shepherd leading them along. Yeah, and all of the financial crimes and all of the assassination bureaus that killed her, President Bhutto, and 3 other Bhuttos have been killed in only 13 presidential regimes. Right then, sorry, I should have gone full screen, shouldn't I? It's not high impact without full screen. Let's do that now. Okay, so let me show you just, so there's the Bhutto and all of the things that I've published already. There's the boards for Darcy Copcho, yeah, that's a woman, Miss Darcy Copcho, and the interlocks that she has with the votes of the Christian fraud and the covers for them, Mr. David Crawford Barclay, and these are the companies that employ Phil John May, yeah, and the Lovelace Banking Group. Yeah, and all of it is coming out no matter how many trivial diversions they launch. Okay, we've done that one, that's her and him. And there's a joke about the grey and the squares for the icon for Capital Group, because on the front page of the various papers the other day, yeah, they were wearing the same gear, and some of the papers portrayed them as grey garments, yeah, some of the papers portrayed them as Asia blue garments. I've yet to suss that out. Yeah, but they are registered in one of the big squares in London, yeah, and they are registered at 749 other places in Britain, which is no longer a conflict of interest for our Prime Minister. And David Cameron has been gifted a 16 million mansion. Sorry, Snowy Nell Gwynn, the Protestant prostitute, yeah, has been gifted a 16 million mansion. But because it's in the middle of the papers, I did not find out Who has gifted them that? Okay, she's dead as a dodo. Yeah, that's the person who introduced them. Yeah, that's her potential rival in the next regime, married to the goldsmith. And there is the father of Princess Di. Yeah, and there is the Honorary Francis Spencer. Yeah, Diana Spencer from Northampton, right next door to those death camps. Okay, that's her brother that made all the fuss at the funeral. That's him again. You remember him standing in the pulpit and making the fuss about the murderers and who they are. Yeah. Right then. So, and there she is, only one company. Right then. So let's get on to the tabs and I'll show you who are the relatives of the fucking Roosevelts. Yeah, that's the Thurn and taxis and all of the pharmaceutical magnates. Okay, Roosevelt. So that's the Selkirk bit that I've already told you. I think it might be on the FDR tab. So do you get it? The Teddy bit and the FDR bit are different parts of New York, and they're all jokes about what their political crimes were and what their religious crimes were. Hyde Park is the location, so that's the culinary bit. That's the pie American pie joke, and that's the only thing that you find on the internet when you look it up on Google Images now. Yeah, that's the put your thumb in the pie joke and pull out a plum. Yeah, that's Plum City for Abel Danger and the first murder in the Bible. Yeah. It's all the same fucking jokes, and it is totally ruthless, and all of the proud servicemen that serve in the wars then become the false news menaces like Field McConnell and his mate Hawkes. And Charlotte Hawkins was a pimp for Prince Philip's and Camilla's brothers World Wildlife Fund. Yeah, totally vocal on that until I expose them. Yeah, that's the Abel Danger Putnam treason team. That's the know-nothings that were launched by the Putnams, that were the bosses at Sunderland University and were the directors of the Chariots of Fire music that plays at the London Olympics Laugh at the War Dead joke. Right then, so the Roosevelt, so that's a tab on the Roosevelt lineage as far as you can go back, and the felt is the underwear under the army of the Christian nations. Yeah, and the Cornelius bloodline is totally insipid and it dies really without bearing fruit. But there's a Rothschild or a Roosevelt family page that has got all of the names of the big mafia families that I want you to know. Okay, so there's the big relatives from Holland: Roosevelt, Geldersman, Mertens, that's the Martin jokes, and Cornelius. Yeah, that's the Cornell University. Yeah, the Cornell bloodline are so fragile, few live, follow the thin grey line to the far right. Okay, so you can see Cornelius, Geldersman, and there's the thin to the far right line. None of the people survive at that end. Yeah, and that is the story for the Habsburgs because of the inbreeding that gives them the pronounced lip or the pronounced jaw. And people that are in that bloodline include every Saturday night at 6 AM you've got the man that sings, that does the Bruce Forsyth comedies, and his assistant, until I exposed it, was a woman called Andrea, and that is the Villa Andrea, murder all of the innocent people so that we can launder drugs out of the Villa Andrea in North Africa and into Latin America. Yeah, and those drugs have come from Marseille and the massive chemistry plants that are the Marseille mafias, and all of that goes into Nixon's America, and Nixon has only got one crime, which is electoral fraud. I would like to find the Roosevelt family tab. I think this will be it. Okay, so the Roosevelt, Van Roosevelt, yeah, do you get the Rothschild linkage, and the linkage to the Bears and all of the women that become the Beatrixes up there in Holland, that is ever so easy to draw into a profiteering exercise. Okay, so what I have not mentioned or shown you yet about the links between Springwood in Scotland and Springwood in New York is that they run the flowers frauds, that is the tulips from Amsterdam. Look up tulips from Amsterdam and the financial services shareholdings crash that is the precedent for everything that these bastards do in their lives. Okay, and I think this has got the listing of all of the related bloodlines that are in their family trees. Okay, I've told you about the Scottish linkages and the Barnavilles, yeah, and the linkages to that Minto Crag place and the Turnbulls of the Mafia families, and all of the links to the Elliots and the Kinnamonts, and there are the members, here's the families. Okay, it's like the Mafia families in New York. Okay, Delano's, so that's Delaney's donkey in the Irish Freemasons joke, and that is the Paddy McGinty's goat joke, yeah, which is part of the kosher rules, yeah, out of the Bible, out of Leviticus, yeah, which says in Leviticus that you're not allowed to eat blood products. That is I forget what they call it in Scotland, but it's a black something, like a black pie. The blood is just baked into it, yeah, and it maybe come back to me. Look up Leviticus on the internet and you'll get a definition of it, because the man on that is 5 minutes in, you understand Leviticus and you'll see the man, oh, it's black puddings, yeah. And you're not allowed to marry homosexuals, yeah, and you're not allowed to abuse animals sexually or have them abuse you, yeah. And when I came back from New Zealand, somebody got their vagina ripped apart because they got shagged by a horse, and that is the Peasel horse joke. And I think it was my brother-in-law from Jeddah who told me that, and he is the person that is the neighbour of Rory Bremner, and all of them are traitors to me. They are traitors to the world's children. Their kids date the Honeyford family, yeah, and the Honeyford family are relatives of the singers from Ireland whose children and their wives die really, really young. And that is when God says nothing at all song for those singers. You do it best when you say nothing at all. Yeah, it's absolutely massive. Yeah, and that's the Jedburgh who have the spying hub right through World War II, yeah, and are the massive cabal that are trying to persecute me out of Jedburgh Sheriff Court. Okay, the Astors, that is Nell Gwynn, that is the people that are Snowy Cameron, and that's why she's been gifted a 16 million mansion, because they've had to give up the money stream that is the prime ministerial place in Downing Street, that cost them the death of their child Ivan. Okay, the DuPont family, that is the pharma magnates, that is the German or Dutch bridge, yeah, do you get it? That's the same as the Ponteelan joke, the bridge to England in Newcastle for the Redesdales and all of the Umfraville families that are in the Windsor Peasel bloodline. The Livingstons are the Livingstons of Africa, and they are right next door to Michael Ancram in the village of Ancram. Yeah, and Michael Ancram lives right underneath the monument to Waterloo that is the celebration of the Rothschilds' triumph there. The Longworth family have not looked at them yet. It does not mean anything to me. That does not mean they are innocent. There's the Hoffmans of Pharma, and Helen Hoffman was a friend of my wee sister. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful people. Yeah, and they still live in this region, according to one of my neighbours, who works as a cleaner now in the hopelessly divided society that we have. Yeah, and there's the Schuler joke. Yeah, that is the shoemaker joke for Pinocchio in the film. Yeah, the son of the shoemaker is the boy with no strings, that is Jesus in all other jokes. Yeah, and the Father God is the mammal, that is the shoemaker Geppetto in the belly of the whale. And the circus person, that is the name of the volcano right at the bottom of Italy, is the name of the volcano right at the bottom of Italy. And when the Christian people come there in the Pauline missions, that volcano becomes active, and its name is, it's not Montefiore, but it is the name of the clown in the circus that takes Pinocchio on as an employer. Yeah, and all of it is the same belly laughs. The Goodyear, yeah, the Hancocks, the Tyre families, yeah, all of the Tyres and the links to the Morgans and all of the people that were the Israeli and Islamic owners of the Holy Lands in the massive massacres. Okay, the Lowells, relatively innocent family. I don't know anything about them either. The De Pai Piso relatives. Yeah, I've got to look into all of those. Yeah, and there's the Rotten Shield and the Rose Field. Yeah, and that is the Rose Field, that is the Roosevelt dynasty. Okay, massive power brokers and massive mafia presences. The Bushes were in the Livingston region, that is Ancram, where Michael Ancram still reigns. Yeah, and he's married to the Howards of Norfolk, and that is the most powerful martial family that are the Pisa horse riders all through world history. Okay, so I've shown you something of their genes, and that little slide there gives you the rest of the story more or less. What else can I tell you? So do you get the baseball joke and the big ball that is the Melon Bank? Yeah, and the man that was the tiny little character in that sport, yeah, who was something Melon, Meadowlark Melon Lemon, I think his name was. Yeah, all of it is the fruits in the Bible. That if you look at the cover for the now dead singer, that is Eva Cassidy, yeah, when she sings the American Dream song, yeah, it's got all the fruits on the front cover. And that is the song about the Mayflower. We came on the Mayflower. She died really young, and she sings the Jewish songs too, about dark-eyed Molly and the highwaymen in Hemel fucking Hempstead. Yeah, the last place where someone was executed from stealing from the people as a highwayman. Yeah, and that is Got in Hemel. Right then, so I've told you all the Springwood stories, and this is about their places of residence. Okay, on Google Maps. So that is Springwood in Hyde Park, America. Yeah, do you get that? The Jekyll and Hyde jokes, everything that is covers, yeah, for the war criminality that is the presidency and the ownership of the banks globally by all of the same families. Okay, we can skim down it and see what I've highlighted. Photo taken June 13th 2015, now a national historic site, and all of the jokes about the American war dead being over there. There you'll be, yeah. I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy, and that was the songs about being over there were the songs that we sung for Thames Polly when I was a rugby player. Yeah. And so the Roosevelt family, Hyde Park is the hometown of Franklin D. Roosevelt, 1882 to 1945, 32nd President of the United States. His estate Springwood is the site of the home of Franklin D. Roosevelt National Historic Site by the National Park Service. Yeah, FDR's historic house is now a museum that can be visited. Dougie Elliott's historic house was blown up by the military in the 1950s. Yeah, and the house on Pinnacle Hill Park that was owned by the Babenhausens of Rothschild and of Frankfurt, yeah, was blown up when I was still a boy. Sorry, the Springwood that was Dougie Elliott's was blown up in 1947 before anybody could get onto the Franklin D. Roosevelt links. Yeah, and all of the stammering kings and the visit of the abdicated king to the town in the lead up to the war went relatively unnoticed until I borrowed that book from the library. And all of them celebrate the deaths of their ancestors as they ride the marches, yeah, in that Italian blue colour. Yeah, and many of them are married into the Italian war prisoners. And that's how the world, yeah, gets all of its false bloodlines. And the burgomasters that took the money lending out of the French Alps, yeah, and out of the Italian Alps into fucking Holland, yeah, they still play rugby for, and that is the Thurn and Taxis family. Did I see them on that list? So one of those families that were listed is actually the relatives and the new names for Thurn and Taxi. And that is the launch of the Rothschild taxi service and the yellow taxis all over the globe. Yeah, and it's them that become the Thurn and Taxis. That's on the next tab. Let me show you a picture of the burgomasters in the Italian rugby team if you don't believe me. Okay, and so I've got mates, and they also testified that I was due to be sectioned. Yeah, his name is John Gray. I used to meet him. He's from the Murrayfield region in Edinburgh, and he is nicknamed the Badger. His name is Gray, so that's the Gray joke for Theresa May. I don't yet understand it, but I'll understand it by the end of the week. Okay? And his sister has come up pleading their innocence just this very week. He's from Yorkshire. Yeah, Badger Bill was his nickname. Okay, so this is the Badgers and the Bears, and the three Corbies, the Ravens, are the Sea Ravens, and that is Al Fayed's Fulham Football Club at Craven Cottage. Okay, all of it is ancient history. The Badger gets protected by Brian May in the covers, yeah, and he sings in the royal family joke that is Queen. Isn't it clever? And all interlocking, and you're too stupid to see it, which is why I have to do all the hard work. But for me it's exhilarating, and it is really simple to see how to take over the ownership of the world. Michael Gove and all of the people that were at the wedding, the third wedding of Rupert Murdoch, and the real power brokers in this story. That's Rebecca Brooks, that is Jacob Rothschild, that is all the people that are the songsters that sing Do They Know It's Christmas. Yeah, all of them are in the same cabal with Rupert Murdoch, and the Freuds, and the Chipping Norton set that was David Cameron, and the Barkers, yeah, and all of it, that is my brother-in-law's closest poofy friends. Yeah, and that is David Cameron's biggest contribution, that the law in Leviticus can now be breached as his contribution to the world. You must not marry into the same sex. Yeah, and the new Prime Minister read that out as one of his biggest achievements. Okay, there's the Fulham, so Billy the Badger is the Bears. When you look at the fictitious creatures, it takes you into the Squarepants character that was walking the streets of Dunedin on Christmas Day when we went there in 2005. That's SpongeBob Squarepants. Yeah, all of it is the same joke about the sponge and the vaginal apparatus that you have at the bottom of your river of blood, yeah, that is the story about my tender reed being planted in your vagina, which is the pie pizzo American pie, and that's why all of those songs are made. Yeah, it's all the same joke, but this is just the linkages to Thurn and fucking Taxi. Okay, in European folklore, the badger character is intimately associated with the bears of Rothschild. Yeah, and let's see if the Burgomasters are on that tab. So do you get it? That's the Burgomasters that took the money lending of the Habsburg Lipp family into the Lipp-Westerfield families that are born blind in Holland and become the fascists in World War II. Yeah? Right then. Or that could be, let's see if I've got pictures of the Burgomaster rugby players. Yeah, and that the Six Nations joined the Six Nations. That is Italy coming in. They lose every time. Okay, and the Osborne badger. Yeah, that's why George Osborne has been chucked out of Theresa's new cabinet. Yeah, former mascot of the Osborne High School. Maybe it's on the top tab for Thurn and Taxis. Okay, so this is the pigeon post and the yellow taxi spying thing. I have not mentioned the, so there is the coat of arms with the badger on it. Yeah, this is Thurn and Taxi, massive princely enterprises all across Europe. Yeah, and it's the lion icon, and it's the we've already got one icon for the castellated castles. Yeah, that appear on because these become the postmaster generals. And can you see on that icon why every postage stamp across our world has that interdigitated thing? And at Kennedy's funeral, behind the coffin, you see that that is the icon all across the wall. Yeah, and let's see, and granted princely rank in 1681, raised to a princely county in 1695, mediatized to Bavaria, that means carved up in a war crime, post-war settlement in 1806. I still don't know what conflict that was. Okay, this is the creation of the Thurn and Taxis nation. Okay, a German noble family, a key player in the postal services in Europe in the 16th century. That is the snitching on every letter that is sent to every citizen across the world, and that is how, when they did it